Knock him out the box, Rick. Knock him out, Rick. Knock him out the box. Johnny.
What's up, Rick?
Here's Johnny.
Finally
Dude,
here.
I had to do that, man.
Have to do that. Have to.
So, okay, so I'm going to introduce you and then we can talk about you a little bit so that whoever's listening knows who you are a little bit before we get into it.
Right.
So, Johnny is my son Cody's one of his best friends, one of his, group of friends, right? Have known each other for a long time, playing club basketball to middle school to, high school. And Johnny's here to share his story. And I want to hear kind of like what you want to talk about and let you be heard. And then and then see where the conversation kind of goes. And then I would love to start with just your story, like who you are, what you think your story is, what it's going to be. And I feel it's important to say that you were a star basketball player and still are, I guess. You're still playing basketball. Now you're a star football player on top of it at Valley, if I could
for
say
my school?
Yeah.
Viewpoint.
Right? Viewpoint.
Yeah.
At Viewpoint, yeah. Not that it matters. I'm not saying it for clout reasons or like to like put you up on a pedestal, but so that I want to point out you've had successes in a lot of areas. You've released music that to me takes a lot of guts because you're going to be judged. People, I'm sure you've been judged because some of the songs did really well, and people then, oh, you suck, or you just copying, or you're just. Haven't read the comments. I'm just guessing. Oh, you can't even sing. Oh, you're just auto tuning. Oh, you're just this. Oh, you're just copying. Oh, you're just ripping. Oh, you're this, you're that. Probably way worse than that. But so, and you have to have the strength to go, I don't care, or I care, but I'm not gonna let it stop me. Because for most people, that's enough to go, I can't do this anymore. It's hard for me, dude, to do. I know that if I do this podcast and I really open up, and especially if it becomes even somewhat successful. If it's not successful, like right now, everyone's encouraging because they're like, "Oh, good for you, Rick. Like that's nice. You started your little, which is cool. That's cool. I appreciate that." When it gets more popular, that's when people are gonna be like, "You fucking suck. You don't even know what you're talking about. You have nothing to say. All you do is ask the same questions. Oh, you're ugly. Oh, you're fat. Oh, your beard's ugly. Oh, you look like a piece of shit. Oh, like it could be the worst. That's hard, even though logically, okay, don't pay attention, blah, blah, blah. You have to be able to overcome that. So now you're doing this vlog thing. Now the music, you've been doing the music consistently. I want to just, I guess, put that out there. And I guess one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is for you to talk about like, how do you do that? How do other people tap into that where they can write a book because they want to, or write a poem and not go, nah, I can't. Like I always wanted to do the talent show in high school and I never did because I was too chicken shit. And we're all scared. It's not like you weren't scared when you released these things or when you tried out for football or did whatever.
Okay, I think, well, when it comes to like making things, if you have the bigger picture in mind, or if it's like a passion of yours, then, well, I'm gonna start with this. What you're talking about, the hate comes with the popularity. I think that's when it comes to the bigger picture and what you want to achieve and like the things that you love about it. So music and like videography, all this like creative stuff that I'm doing with like recording and stuff, that's my passion. Like I live for things like that. I love making videos and I love making music. So putting them together kind of just worked for me. And I think if I have a bigger goal in mind, like I want to have music to influence people, or I want to make videos to cheer people up, I think that would be more meaningful to me than looking at these like comments and just being like, oh, I shouldn't do this because one person thinks that. Because like
great.
how many people in the world? 7 billion something. One person is like the smallest percentage out of the bunch. So I just think people have to think if they really enjoy it or if they really want to do this.
And a bigger purpose. Because that's interesting that you said that. I didn't know if there was like a bigger purpose beyond you just like making songs, which would be
Right.
fine. But you're like, if I can make people cheer somebody up, then it's worth it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Somebody wants to be negative, which, by the way, I know for a fact it's total bullshit and total noise.
Yeah.
It's just people unhappy with themselves. Always.
Yeah. People tend to
I
take it out on
yeah,
others. So
there might be some feedback that's valuable, like, oh, let's say they make fun of something I did, like, I didn't even know who you were talking to in the beginning of the podcast. You should do an intro, idiot. I might go, oh shit, an intro. Okay. It's good advice. Maybe he could have been nicer about it. So I'm open to feedback.
yeah.
I'll read it. I want to read all the comments, by the way. I want to make it better. But I also know when someone gives you empty commentary without any kind of helpful advice, then it's just hate. It's just their own unhappiness being projected at you because nobody that's happy, that is like emotionally intelligent or that's going after their thing is commenting like that on anybody because they
Yeah.
don't have time nor do they want to. They're like, hey,
Yeah.
good for you for trying to do a song. Even if it's not the greatest song or they don't like it, they're not going to say like they might, you know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
know. And so you got to learn to ignore that, but it's not easy.
I think what I started to realize is this is a big thing. If someone has enough time to write a hate comment about your work, then they have enough time to watch it and listen to whatever you're doing while they're typing what they're typing. Like, who
Right.
the hell wants to not why would they just go on there to comment something bad? They
Right.
want to hear it. Like they want something
Right.
to want to write something. If that makes any sense, you know?
That's a great point.
Yeah. it's
That's a
just-
great, because you can't deny that. Like, why did you ingest enough
yeah,
of it?
if
Why
you
did
ask
you
them
just
why they have
why
no
did-
answer? It's like
Right.
I don't know.
This is the 5th video in a row that I've released that you've commented on.
Exactly.
So you must really like my shit.
Yeah.
Want to help me produce it next time? Like, that's a great point, man. Like, that means they're paying attention.
Yeah.
Because if it's terrible, you swipe. You're out of there.
You won't even let it cross your page. Just keep going.
Right. That's a great point, man. I love that.
Yeah.
See, so that's what I'm saying is like when people are successful, it doesn't mean other people can't be successful. It's just you figured out a mindset that allowed you to like overcome, and it may sound easy to you, but it's not for 95% of the population because we're so afraid to be judged and not be accepted by the tribe. We all have that fear
Yeah.
to not be liked, to not be good enough. If you're raised and you're put down all the time, it's very tough to like get over it. Even if you logically know, like, yeah, you're right. Doesn't mean anything. They're this, they're that. Still, people go, I'll just stay in the background here. Let's not put my artwork out there. Let's not put my photographs out there. Let's not put my ideas out there because people might, blast them. And everyone does it. I do it. We all hold back to some degree because we're afraid to be judged. That's okay. It's just to what level? When it stops you from doing what you love, then it's probably not working very well for you.
Right.
Then you got to adjust and go, let me figure this out. And knowing perspectives like the ones you just shared can change somebody's whole attitude, man.
Right. Yeah.
And that's pretty much everything, man. Because if you don't think you can do it, you're not gonna do it. And if you think you can do it, you're gonna start looking for ways to figure it out, man.
I think for me, what it was, as a kid or like growing up, middle school and stuff, I didn't necessarily have the best experience. I was out there. I was the type of kid who fucking did the craziest and stupidest shit, like get in trouble for throwing toilet paper at the wall or like writing something stupid on a teacher's like desk or something. So I think what happened with me was I grew up making so many mistakes and trying new things, whether they're dumb or like a good idea, that I'm not afraid to make any more mistakes.
Right.
So I've come to the conclusion where like if you do something and it doesn't necessarily kill you it never hurts to try, you know?
Right.
Like you can find something about yourself or find something out about yourself that you would never have known. Like for me, my parents held me back from playing tackle football because you know it's a very contact sport. You like risk of injury and stuff. But once I started playing, like actually in high school rather than just out with my friends, I'm like, wow, this is something I can do. You know, like I really love playing this. So it's not until you go out and experiment yourself and do what you think you like that you'll find out what's actually right for you.
I love that, man. I love that. That's what it's all about, man. Go figure yourself out, and the only way is to jump in the water.
Mhm.
You can't just hear people telling you about how it's like to what it's like to swim.
Yeah.
You got to get in and swim around, and maybe even learn to swim before you know, do I like swimming? You know what I mean? And you got to, and when your parents don't necessarily make it available, you got to go find it. But you are like probably an artist at heart that needs to express themselves a lot, and your parents, couldn't really stop you,
Yeah.
although they might have tried, because you're just probably bursting with. You need to express yourself, so it could be art, it could be music, it could be football, basketball, because it's all art forms.
Yeah.
Everything's an art form. Some people need to express themselves a lot. Some people not as much.
Yeah. There's always something to fuel what you're doing. Music nowadays, a lot of artists base it off of what's happened to them or like the things they've been through, how they got from one place to another, you know, how they got rich or how they had a breakup and they had a breakthrough moment. Or even with drawing, you know, your headspace is very cloudy, so you write about or you draw things and it can be a sad picture of like a portrait maybe of maybe like a woman with a knife or something, you know. There's always just something that's like fighting you with you, not against you, but fighting with you to make you want to continue. Like it's like an urge inside of you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So again, experiences. I as a 16-year-old have been through some things that an average 16-year-old wouldn't go through or shouldn't have gone through at all until like or maybe even never, but I just have a lot of things that I've been through that have fueled me and given me stories to write about or talk about that seem fake to others, but it's kind of like my actual story. Like this has happened to me, or like I've experienced this growing up. But people are like, "Oh no, how the hell are you like 13 or 14 talking about that shit? Like it doesn't make any sense. You're just making it up." But sometimes I'm really not making it up. You know, it's just how it is.
Right.
Things are like bad. Not everyone's story is the same. Everything isn't like flowers and rainbows.
Right.
It's
So what are the turning points in your life that helped you one go after the thing? Like, how did your parents help in that way for you to do things that you love, or what things have you gone through that were obstacles, maybe that you had to get over?
uh let's see. I guess so. Middle school, there was an incident that happened in 7th grade. Not necessarily, well, it's bad. I'm not gonna like disclose or anything, no names and stuff, but there's an incident where I kind of lost all my friends. And by like all my friends, I literally mean like all of my friends. I went from having or being a friend with everyone in my grade, so 7th grade at the time, to having one. That's Tehran. He's never left me. So that moment, like I was really going through it at that time, you know. No friends. I had nothing to look forward to. I was just kind of moping about it, being really sad, like bubbling up all my emotions and stuff in my head, not talking about it to anyone. And that kind of was like, wow, this is my life now. Like middle school movies are like, holy shit, this is middle school. I can do this, you know, like so many experiences. But then I was seeing it and I was like, why is my middle school like I'm 40 years old without a job, no money. I just felt like I was an adult and I understood things. Like talking to adults was so much more entertaining to me than talking to kids my age because all they wanted were, you know, good grades or hanging out with friends at the mall. But I was like already matured and like talking to them about things like buying houses or real estate or something, you know, like something a teenager wouldn't talk about.
Right.
But that was one of the turning points. in
So
a
what happened that everybody that you lost all your friends?
uh something happened between me and a girl. Rumors happen, a
Yeah,
lot of things. One
gotcha.
story changed to another,
It's
just
always
everything switches up. And
it's always the same story, man.
yeah, but then that was a
There's always a
turn.
girl.
Yeah, but that was a turn in
So
another
that forced you
direction.
to look at life differently and mature faster. Is that when you got into
That's
music more?
okay.
Or?
So that one is, let's see, that one was a turning point in I digressed. So I actually went backward from there, and things up until like I would say 8th grade, 9th grade. Until then, they were just going down, slowly dropping lower and lower.
Right.
But 9th grade, I was at Elko. I found a new group of people instead of the ones that I was originally hanging out with, and I felt more comfortable around them. And hanging out with Cody and like the group that I have now, it was more of a daily occurrence. I saw them at school every day. I was able to express who I was, and they didn't really know much who I was back then, or they didn't really care about what happened to me. So I was like, I had freedom. So that kind of like lit the fire, and I was like, okay, maybe if I started using my creativity to actually do things, maybe they would like that too. And that was my turning point where I realized, like, if you find the right group of people, or if you, like, let's say someone else, one of the viewers, if they have a passion to listen to music or write music, but they don't want to like exactly like post it, if they find the right group of people who will support them, they'll find something that'll make them want to also post music.
Right.
There's always a plus side to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if my music wasn't doing well, then I would be like, okay, that's fine. If my friends liked it, it would bring me up. Like, my mood would be really
Yeah. So
happy.
what do you want to ultimately do with your music and and
Uh,
and maybe in general? Like where do you see yourself in 10 years? What do you want to do with music?
yeah.
Where do you see this going? Do you have a
So,
goal in mind or a dream or
in terms of music, well, I've always wanted to have a sports route, like basketball, and now it's football, but music has always been trying to compete top notch as one of my goals. But I kind of, in 10 years, I would like to be a mainstream artist where people all around the world listen to my music, and it kind of got a story across to everyone.
paint the picture?
Yeah, exactly.
Can you paint the picture? Like cuz
Uh,
it would be interesting to me, but also for yourself. Like how do you see that? Like
yeah,
when
I
you're a
always
certain and
envisioned.
maybe you don't know exactly all the details, just can you paint what you do see? Like how old are you? What kind of music? What's your message behind the
Right.
music? How do you see your concert? Like any piece of it that you've already filled in on your vision board and whatever you haven't is still blank space. That's okay.
I think, well, I've always envisioned as a, I don't know, what's the age? What would you call like a 20, mid 20s? Like
Yeah, mid
that age.
20s.
Yeah, like 23, 24.
Sure.
Always envision myself in a, like, on stage in front of those big crowds, sell out, concerts. Everyone's going crazy,
Yeah.
the type of stuff where you're just jumping up and down, making the whole crowd shake.
Preach.
That's the type of thing that I envision,
Okay.
success, not necessarily
Kind
like,
what kind of music? What am I listening to? What's
uh,
happening at these concerts?
so I don't know. My music has always changed.
Okay.
I started with more of like a rap kind of genre. I switched to pop. So now my type of music that I'm producing is like pop music.
Yeah.
I think with me, the type of music I want would be very like rowdy and like hype music, like a beat that everyone can really like bounce to. Like they hear the beginning and they're like, okay, this is like something to get going. Or like at a party, you hear it and you just want to start dancing. Like that's the type of music I want.
Okay.
A lot of things that the stuff that I want to do involve around making others happy, videos,
Yes.
music. I like making other people happy. I try to put other people before my needs first, because
I love that, man.
other people, or when I see other people happy or succeed, I feel like top dog. I'm like, I helped do that.
I
I
love
was a
that, man.
supporter for that.
Yeah.
So
I feel the same way. I feel like that's a sign that you are doing the right thing, meaning it's a sign that you're doing the right job
Mm.
because every job is helping people. You just got to figure out how you want to help people. You want to be a
Right.
grocer, you want to be a delivery person, you want to be a makeup artist. You're helping people. You should want to help people. If you're
Yeah.
not wanting to help people, you're doing the wrong job. So to me, that just tells me music is definitely something you need to pursue no matter what, no matter
Mm.
where it takes you and no matter what place you're going to have in that industry.
Right.
But I love that you have big dreams. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's the only way you're going to even have a chance to get there is if you see it. Because then you got to reverse engineer and go, okay, that means I got to be like you're already doing the steps that can get you there. You're
Right.
releasing music. There's nothing magical. You just got to go
Yeah.
after it. And I love that you're not limiting yourself to, well, maybe I'll play little concerts here and there. You see like this could be big. Why not?
I
And there's
think
nothing wrong with like there's all genres of music. So if it's happy dance music getting people moving, there's definitely a huge
right.
place for that.
I think one thing for me was, or this is how I see it. Um, if you can succeed and understand that things don't happen overnight, then that's your calling, or you'll be good in the aspect that you want to work on.
Right.
Like music, everyone thinks like, oh yeah, these artists are all coming up from nowhere. Just it happens overnight, one song. But if you really go back and look at the people's history of like the music, it started 2011, 2016, 2013.
Right.
It's stuff that people don't know about
Right.
until you get big.
Johnny, see, you have figured things out that I didn't even know as an adult because you only see the successes. You don't realize those roots have been planted 10 years before that. They were already putting in work. No business pops out of nowhere, man. They're usually grinding for 10, 15 years and then they go like nationwide and everyone thinks, oh, they came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
No, man, they put 10,000 plus hours in first, practicing and honing and trying different things and coming up with crappy songs until they're like, oh, here's a song.
Right.
You figure that out, man. And that's important to know because if you don't know that, you're going to give up too soon. You're going to say, oh, I didn't have a hit yet.
Exactly.
I told this before. I had a friend of mine who was doing video stuff for me that quit music and was like, yeah, I already tried. He wanted to be a rapper. And I'm not saying he would have been. It's just, I said, well, how long did you try for? He goes, oh, like a long time. I go, like, numbers, please. Oh, like a year and a half. I'm like, dude, I go, like, I don't know if you would have made it or not, but who makes it in a year and a half? Nobody. He goes, no, people do. You should already
Yeah.
know. And I'm like, no, man, it takes like 10 years. Like, not everyone. He goes, Justin Bieber. I'm like, dude, not everyone's going to be discovered on YouTube, number one. Number two, he was already singing and dancing in front of the mirror,
Yeah.
like, and, getting his craft the way he wanted it before somebody discovered him and said, this guy's amazing. I mean, didn't do the research on Bieber per se, but nothing happens overnight, man. You got to put in the work. But again, most musicians don't make it in a year and a half. Most people aren't in a successful career and they were there after a year and a half. They were like grinding for 10, 15 years and now they're like heading up a company or they didn't become the head of the company in a year and a half. They were
Right.
making copies or stapling papers.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. I think for music specifically, if you're doing music just to sound like someone else, then like why are you doing it?
right.
I don't want to put anyone down who like if anyone's watching this, if you want to make music, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying like you want to have something that will make yourself unique. Like
Right.
if you want to sound like the next Drake and expect yourself to be as big as Drake, you're not going to have the same outcome cuz there's already a Drake out there. So why would someone want to listen to another one, that
Right.
doesn't have the same capabilities?
Do you think it's fair to say you can sound like somebody because everyone sort of is taking music, taking the old and taking it to the next level, but you should put your own personality and like seasoning on it.
Yeah.
Don't go, oh, I'm going to take a song and do it just like that. But it's okay to take a genre or a style and go, I like that. But
Right.
It has to talk to you personally. You got to
Yeah.
put your own flavor on it.
Yeah, like I don't think you should be like using the same beat, talking about the exact same stuff and trying to have the exact flow or even
Right.
look the same as them, you know?
Right.
You have to have a little bit of like a difference in it that'll make it stand out from the original one.
Right.
Like let's just take an example. Ian Dior, this one artist talks about heartbreak and stuff. Like you can use a beat that sounds like something he would use, but you could talk about something completely different, you
Right.
know? Like there just has to be even a minor modification to it that like
Well, it
makes
should be
you,
your genuine expression.
yeah, you shouldn't just be
And
making up stuff just to
yeah.
make up stuff, you
And
know?
I think the good news is nowadays it's hard to be successful if you don't do that because people have so much content at their fingertips. If they sense you're just copying and it's not really your genuineness coming through in some way, they're already skipping you, man. So, the really good stuff is your artistic expression.
Right.
And no one can express or make a song the way you will.
Exactly.
Better or worse, nobody can make a song like you.
Yeah.
It's your fingerprint. It's kind of cool. So, good or bad, it's your fingerprint. And if you love it, put it out there.
Right. It's just like we were talking about earlier, like everyone has their own experiences or they're going through this like their own thing. Like yeah, people can experience the same thing, you know. They two people can have good grades or two people can play the same sports and have the same outcome. But two people can have completely different like scenarios at home.
Right.
One can be completely negative. The
Right.
parents don't like the kids, they don't talk to them at all. And the other one, like the parents are kind of like cradling the kids, you know, giving them everything they want.
Right.
And that kind of sets apart the difference in things.
Let me ask you this. What experiences have you had in your life that you think could help other teens in your situation going through maybe the same things? You
So
don't have to share, but
yeah,
I'm just throwing it out there.
um my parents are very academically driven, you know. They're immigrant parents. They went to college and they're like what college is basically what got them their success now. But I think a lot of parents don't see the things that are happening now can actually be a career. One of them that's really big, it's getting really big now, is gaming. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of kids make a real career out of gaming, you know, make millions of dollars from it.
Right.
But parents don't see that. They just see it as something that's like wasting their time or something, you know? But
And
from
each gamer that's making $1 million is also employing a team around them
exactly.
that's in the gaming industry. So
Right.
it's not just, well, my kid's not going to be $1 million gamer. It's the industry. It's a growing $1 billion industry, multi-billion. I don't know how
Right.
many billions it is now.
Yeah. And I just think like to me, the big thing, I'm not saying like kids shouldn't listen to their parents, but one thing is some kids listen to their parents too much to the point where they don't explore their own creativity. You know, your parents can hold you back from doing a lot of things. They can keep you on a single route from point A to point B. And like, yeah, that's the easiest way to get to somewhere without finding out about yourself. You want to find out if you like music, you want to find out if you like playing soccer. You can't do that if they're just making you do academics from point A to point B, you know? You go from elementary school to college. Are you going to do any extracurriculars? Nothing, you know?
Absolutely, man. I got to tell you, Johnny, like you figured out a lot of things that took me a long time to figure out. And let me tell you this way. Parents are regular people. I'm sure anyone listening would say most of the people they know aren't the most emotionally intelligent people, right?
Right.
Those are parents. That means there's a very good chance whoever's listening, their parents aren't the most emotionally intelligent, which means those kids' lives are limited by those parents that are
Right.
like, no, you're going to play the fucking piano, motherfucker.
Yeah.
I don't care. You don't like it. You playing the piano is good for you. And they're doing it because they think it's good for them, but they don't realize there's so many options. Why not help your child figure out what they actually love and then set them free and they're going to be successful?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I think with parents,
They're
this
going to be
is
more
like,
successful because it takes 10 years to grind. If you don't love it, you're going to quit.
exactly.
You're going to burn out.
I think with parents, this is kind of like something that parents should take advice from. Like, I'm a kid, but I'm kind of just trying to give them advice to help them with their kids.
Right.
I think parents need to be less hands-on and kind of relax and let their kids make the mistakes that they would make as a kid. Like, you're 16 years old. It's not like you're gonna like fuck up your life so bad to where you're gonna be like poor, $0. There's always something. Like, there's always a mistake that's like beneficial.
Okay,
Even
so
though,
I love this conversation. Let me ask you a certain way because there's going to be parents out there listening going, yeah, you could fuck, you could get pregnant, you can become a
yeah,
drug addict, you become a crackhead. So it's a deeper question, but maybe address it that way. Like, how do parents give their kids enough space, but yet protect them?
okay, yeah. Let's see if I
And
can
I
reword
have my own
this.
opinion, but I'd love to hear
Yeah.
yours.
Okay, so in life, there are a lot of things that I understand parents need to have a hold of. Pregnancy, like you just said, or like getting into drugs. My understanding of that is, if someone wants, or if a kid wants to try it, like try to do it, I'd rather them or the parents have a relationship with the kid to be open enough to where the kid can come to the parent and be like, hey, can I try this? I've always wanted to try it, see what it's like, instead of having to go behind the parents' back
Right.
and do it illegally or without them. And that, like, ends up having them go into like a deep hole and they're a drug addict at some point.
Right.
But in terms of having like the parents be hands on or not, what I think in that aspect is creativity. Like, if your kid wants to go out and play sports, or if your kid wants to go out and make music or try to sell like their drawings or artwork, I think parents should let their kids do that, or what brings them enjoyment, and let their kids figure that part out on themselves.
Great. I love that. And let me address the other part because that's what I think. Like, let them express themselves to figure out who they are. There's all kinds of ways to make money.
Right.
If they can find a passion, that's where the money's going to come. So that's something I agree
Yeah.
with. And let your kids explore their interests versus forcing them into your own interests or what you think they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Which is not, it's not the natural way to find yourself and feel fulfilled. It's a different way of thinking. It's not that easy, right? But
Exactly. Yeah.
it's where parenting is going, I think. The other
Parents.
thing about the, kids doing crazy stuff and getting pregnant and drugs and all that stuff, to your point, I want to address that because here's the thing. The reality is you got to parent your kids from zero to 3 years old, like, is the most important.
Right.
Then from 3 to 13 is extremely important. And then 13 to 16 is very important. But when they get to 16, the game is over
Yeah.
because they technically could just pack up and run away. Like, you don't have a choice at that point. And I've helped a lot of my parent friends out when they were having problems with their teenagers,
Right.
serious problems. And all of them, I gave them the same advice. You got to be friends with them at this point. You got to
Right.
guide them at this point. You got to let them come to you and say, hey, I want to try pot or whatever,
Yeah.
and just have a conversation. But in order to do that, you got to talk to them like a friend. If your friend came to you and said, I want to try weed, you wouldn't say, what? What did you say to me? What the hell are you talking about? Are you crazy?
Right.
Your friend would be like, what the fuck is up your ass? I'm never going to come tell you shit. And they're never going to come tell you ever again they want to try something. You got to be willing to change how you approach your kid. And that means
Yeah.
letting go of your kid being a baby. And that's the hardest thing to do, man, because if the change happens quick, from boys to men, from girls to women happens really quick, man.
Yeah.
Like that 13-year mark, whew, light switch. You got to catch up and go. By the time they're 15, when Cody was 15, I basically had to talk with him like, you are a grown man, but you still live here, and this isn't a hotel, so I need you to do certain shit. Do your end, and it's fair. I'm fair with him, okay, but I'm giving him space as long as he meets certain requirements, right? Like he still lives here. Okay, you got to get certain grades. Let's say you got to, because that takes effort. You got to make an effort. Other than that, I'm letting him explore himself, like what he wants to do, how he wants to train. But I'm here to guide him at all times, right?
Yeah.
But for us to have gotten to this point where I'm close with him and I'm able to like talk with his friends like this, right?
Yeah.
You guys are open with me because you've seen I'm genuinely open with Cody and my kids. Like
Right.
I never filtered their language. They would always be able to talk however they want with their friends with me. You guys know on those
Yeah.
long ass
It's crazy.
trips, you know, basketball trips. But that's why I did that. I was very like intentional about having that relationship where I would tell Cody, for example, when my kids were little, I told them, if you come and tell me the truth about some shit you did, I don't care if you murdered somebody, right? They're like 6 years old, but I'm like, I'm just saying to
Yeah.
shock them, like, it could be anything. You accidentally killed somebody. I won't get mad at you if you come tell me. Now, if you don't tell me, it's going to be a problem and I'm not going to trust you. If
Right.
you don't want me to trust you, that's on you. But I promise you, if you tell me the truth first, and you come to me and tell me, I can't get mad at you. And if I do, you can tell me to my face, fuck you. You said you couldn't get mad at me. I told them that in those words. I really got their attention because I needed them to be honest with me. So they would do stuff like 2 months after they got in trouble with the principal. Hey, daddy, I didn't tell you, but I want you to know I got sent to the principal for fighting, but it ended up they gave me a note. I never gave it to you, and they never asked me, and I didn't tell you, and I'm just telling you now. And I'm
Right.
like, good for you. That's my man. I would like praise him, like, you're the man. Awesome. Thanks for you didn't have to tell me. And then after I got done praising him, I said, okay, like, hey, but what happened? Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Could you have handled it? He's like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have got upset. Okay, cool. Done. So we had the talk. And the key is that he trusts me now to come tell me I fucked up. I tried drugs. I drank and I drove a car. Like they always know, like if you get drunk, I don't drink. I'm not drinking, daddy. I go, I know, but if you decide to take drinks because somebody pressured you, I'll come pick you up, no questions asked.
Right.
Right? Because it's not about that. Then we can have a philosophical conversation about, do you want to get into drinking now? You know what I mean? Like I feel like my kids feel comfortable telling me like about these things because they know there's no judgment.
Mm.
It's hard to get there though, but if your kid is 16, it's too late. You
Right.
gotta, and I've seen parents that kind of spoiled their kids and maybe gave them too much growing up. Let's say, like, meaning didn't establish boundaries, their kids didn't do well in school. Like, a lot of things that happen that maybe aren't what they wanted for their kids or their relationship with their kids. But when they were 16, they took the advice of just being their friend and they completely flipped the relationship and helped their kid figure out, hey, they're not good at school, but they love makeup.
Right.
So, okay, how do we get you into a makeup school? Like, and now the kid's coming to them like, hey, I'm screwing up in this. Okay, let's figure it out. Nothing is nothing is off the table because they flip the switch to friendship.
Right.
Is the only choice at that point because otherwise you push them away and they want to be independent, so they want your help, but they're not going to ask you if they know you're going to blow up at them. It's
Right.
too late for that. Like
Yeah.
you got to not blow up at your kids, but set those whatever you want your kids to learn, skill sets. You got to do that at a young age.
I think going back to the parents and like the whole thing about parents and stuff understanding a kid, I think if a parent is like like they neglect their child so much or they don't understand and listen to what the child has to say, they like the kid becomes so rebellious to the point where it's like the relationship is just broken,
Right.
and that's the thing where like the control happens, 16, that's when teenagers really like to try things or get into new things. But if the relationship isn't there and the kid and the parents hate each other because the parent is too over controlling, then it's just gonna be anger and fuss
Right.
until the kid actually gets out. That's
Right.
something that I really had in my head just now thinking about it. But when the parent is open and they listen to the kid about what they have to say, and they really think like my child is has a word or something, and they experience something that they want to tell me, then the parent should just be all ears.
Right.
It shouldn't just be something that the kid has to hide or tell a friend, because parents are there for moral support and helping you and guiding you through life.
Right.
So I think the connection is all about understanding each other. It's
It's very hard though, man. Like
yeah,
because I don't judge any parents, by the way, even if they don't maybe do it the way I learned to do it or whatever, right? Because we're subject of our environments growing up and our genetics, right? So
right.
like if you were raised in a certain type of, you know, parenting household, you probably adopted that
Yeah,
way. So I think the first step really is to like kind of question everything that you learned just in case and go
yeah,
take a step back. Cause like I was raised in a spanking family and I adopted that when I got married and had kids initially, that's totally normal. When they're one and they're like looking at you and they're purposely taking the keys, you smack their butt. Now I'm like totally flipped because I at
yeah.
some point was like, it's got to be a better way, man. And it wasn't working on Ben, so I'm like, man, you know, this is not really probably. And then I started watching like Super Nanny, for example, on TV, and like, oh, you could do timeouts. Oh, that's okay. Try that, and then you learn, man. But you got to first be able to question your own learning, and not many parents are willing to do that.
That's actually a really good point that I think, because with me, my parents and I, they're like our relationship is good, but there have always been times where like my parents understand that they did something or they're doing something that makes me visibly upset, or that makes me want to like go against them in everything or just whatever I'm doing. But they finally understood, like, okay, maybe change things, or like let him have his own freedom in certain things. Because my parents, as I started growing up, they gave me more freedom. Like I had the ability to do things, and they understood that I'm responsible to take care of myself. Like when I come back from a friend's house, or when I go out doing certain things, like my own judgment against things. But yeah,
How
like you
did that
said,
change?
uh, I think the way that happened with me isn't the best way to go, because my anger temperament isn't the best. I'm not very good at holding emotions in, but there's some times where I would get really frustrated and go against them, and that's when they understood that like
What
things
was
were
the
wrong.
technique you used to go against them that worked?
Like, well, for me, it's like if I were to lock myself in a room, right,
Yeah,
or my own room, or like if we're having an argument, I really like was crying or screaming or
yeah,
something. It's just the things that you could really see hurt me, or
right,
just
right.
how I feel about something, that kind of change them or
I got you.
change their aspect about something.
So, do you think it was them finally realizing how much it really hurt you through expressing yourself so, like, boldly and, you know,
Yeah, I think so. Cause
emotionally?
yeah, I
So maybe it
think
was the best thing given, and not there isn't like one way to like teach people.
yeah,
Maybe your parents just needed to see that, and you happen to be expressive enough because you're an expressive person to get to them. Like you said, it's probably not the only way to do it or the best way for every
right,
situation, but maybe it's one way, man. Like, I mean, not
yeah,
every parent's going to listen to, can we have a serious talk? And I want to express how I feel.
yeah,
I come from a family that wouldn't respond to that. They wouldn't respond to like a civil conversation necessarily.
yeah,
It had to be with emotion, and it would have to be with such emotion that it's over the top,
yeah.
unfortunately.
This is definitely one of the harder things to get across with life, because parents, a lot of them, once they have like, or once they bring up their kids in a certain way, not a lot of them don't really want to change the way like they take care of their kids, because they see that it's been working well for them for this long time, but
Right.
it's
Well,
very hard.
and they don't want to question their perspective and belief system,
Right.
meaning I was raised to think your kids are kind of like your property in a way.
Yeah.
You talk down to them, and this is normal. If you think about parenting styles overall, it's normal to dismiss your children's questions, shut up, none of your business. You don't understand that. Not go, oh, well, let me explain that to you. It's not, you know, traditionally that relationship. It's
Right.
very authoritarian. You're supposed to listen. There's expectations of you. You do what I say, not what I do or what you want. And I know what's best for you. You don't know anything. You don't know what's best for you. You don't make good decisions. They don't think of you as a young adult learning to be adult. They think of you as a child until you rip free at some point, right? And go off
Exactly.
to college or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's not true. You're a young adult. Even at 3, you're learning the world. It's just your world is small. You know, I always thought of it that way. Like my kids are little adults, little miniature adults. They're just don't. Their world is this small, and then it's this big, and then it's this big, and it's that this big. So I always thought like anything they would ask me, I had to explain. I didn't think
Yeah.
like, hey, don't. I was raised with none of your business. Shut the fuck up. You're just a kid. You don't know anything. So the point is, you got to first question that, like,
Right.
and if you, because if you have that belief, then it makes sense that it's like you're just being a bad kid
Right. I think
instead of going, hey, our child, imagine him in 30 years, he might be some famous artist, and here we are stifling that growth instead of just letting him be the artist he is. They think, no, you don't know what you're talking about until you're 18, and then magically you're gonna know what you want.
right.
You already are something. You're baking, man.
Yeah.
You're already mostly baked. Like Mozart was doing genius shit when he was 13 or 10 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying you got to do that at 13, no pressure, just saying it's time to express yourself. And here's the thing, man, like parents don't want to admit that their kids are adults when they're 15 or 16. They go, no, they're not. They're not responsible. I go, well, that makes it even worse because they have this need to be independent and yet they know they're not really making the right decisions and you're reminding them of it all the time. It's just making it worse, actually. They
Right.
don't realize, like, that doesn't mean you have to give them all the freedom. It just means understand what you're dealing with so you can have a nice talk and go, hey,
Yeah.
for like, hey, I get it. It's hard for me to give you the space you need right now. Let's talk about that.
I think it starts with the kids in this situation, because there are a lot of kids who don't tell their parents stuff, or they're very shy to talk to certain things with their parents. But if you talk to your parents about something that you really feel strong about, or like you want change, like you want more freedom or something, you can tell the parents that and they can say no. But I know for a fact it's always going to be lingering in the parents' head.
Yes.
And over time, progression happens, and you won't necessarily see a big change, but the kid will be like, oh, finally realizing that the parent is like, okay, 10 o'clock, no, you can stay up till 11, or two friends, no, you can have four. It'll be a
Great advice,
slow.
man. That is great, great advice. Because it's easy to say it's on the parents to teach their kids to trust them. And that is true also. Like, it's, if you want to be a good parent, try to build that relationship so they feel comfortable. But if you're a kid already in a situation where your parent isn't fostering that, don't just sit there, plant the seed.
Right.
You're totally right. Even when we say, no, you're not going to, you kind of go, oh, they want that thing. Now, if you stop asking for it, they'll be like, okay, they didn't really want it.
Yeah.
But if you ask for it 20 times, they're like, what? Why do you want this
Yeah.
thing? Now you got their attention. Mom, because I love it. I love ballet. Please
Right.
let me do it. Please just let me do 2 weeks. What? Why? Because I love the art. Whatever it is, doesn't matter.
Right.
You're right, man. Plant that seed and then just, if you really want it, just chip away.
Yeah. I'm not saying this is like something kids should do when asking for unreasonable things. You know,
Right.
like it has to be reasonable.
Well, you got to be willing to work for it, because if
Exactly.
it's something they're really against, you got to chip away
Yeah.
and find opportunities to educate your parents a little bit on why you like it, why it's good. They
Yeah.
may also not be educated on something.
Right.
Like, parents don't know anything about streaming. What if you're the next streaming god, but your
Right.
parents are like totally against you being a gamer? Now you got to plant little articles, or like be watching a documentary about a video gamer or
Yeah.
like a really smart person that made it, and start educating your parents. Because,
Yeah.
like I said, man, most people, just like me, are ignorant on a lot of things, you know? And so my kids have educated me often when I've had the wrong idea about something, or tried to put them on lockdown on or said this is probably not good for you. Fortunately, we always would have those open conversations, and we'd kind of figure. I'd always say, like, help me figure it out then. If you
Right.
can't give me a good solution, then we're gonna do what I say, though. And
Yeah.
then that either worked in my solution's favor, or we would come up with something actually that, oh, okay, I didn't know that's what you wanted. I thought it's communication, man,
Yeah. I
and being
think.
open.
Yeah. That's the. I think at one point or at a certain point, the kid has to become the parent
Yes,
without actually being the parent.
as soon as possible. Be your own parent as soon
Yeah.
as possible.
Yeah.
Seriously, like, know that you're dealing with your actual parents, but if there's, let's say, like, they're ineffective in a certain area, don't use them as an excuse. Just go, okay, I gotta help them a little bit as much as I can. And but it's not your responsibility to help them. I'm saying help yourself as much as you
Right.
can. Take charge. You know, start planting the seed if you want something.
Exactly.
Start educating yourself if you want something. Start doing something you want.
Right. Yeah, it's like parents, they grow up, or like, if we're talking about now, a lot of parents grew up 1960 to, 90, 80.
Yeah,
Those are parents. But
right,
think about how much has changed from 2000s to 2020, or 2021 in this case.
right,
And all of that, parents don't see because they're busy working, or they're busy in a workplace experiencing things that are not in the real world, you know?
right,
Like they
right,
don't see gaming develop. They don't see phones or technology jump from just a pad to
right,
a touchscreen, you know?
right.
All these little things that parents don't see, we have to be the ones. The kids have to be the ones to educate parents about that.
I think that's well said, man. We're working so much, we don't have time to pay attention. And especially at the speed with which technology changes, we don't know what the hell is going on, man.
Exactly.
And to your point about gaming, gaming is more than just gaming. Gaming is the remote control of a robotic device that can perform anything, that, you know what I mean, that
Right.
can do work for humans. That's the future anyway.
Right.
So I'm not saying that everyone's going to have a career using controllers, but I have a feeling that will be a big part of our future.
Yeah.
And kids that are good at gaming are going to have a place, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, everything's going to be remote controlled by humans, or monitored by humans anyway.
For me, growing up, in terms of games, I was always on my phone. Like when the iPhone 6 was out, I was constantly on it playing video games and stuff. And my parents were like, "Why do you always play the game instead of make a game, you know?" Cuz game developers, they think, or back then game developers were the only people who were making money, not the people playing games, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They would never pay you to play a game, but nowadays people like pay to watch a game, not even
Right.
play it.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of parents don't see, how things have changed and really developed over time.
Yes,
But
I know. It's an unlimited world. Like I said, even if you're not the gamer and you're not the streamer, there's a whole team, there's apparel, there's events, there's, dude, I mean, professional sports gamers are making, getting close to making more than real athletes, man.
exactly, yeah.
Like, that's the future, man. And like you said, like, it's up to the kids. If you want to be in that future, your parents aren't ready. You gotta be willing to educate them. It's a
Yeah.
great point, man. We're
Yeah.
way behind. We're way behind the times, man.
Yeah.
And the
Parents just
generations are growing so quickly. Like every 2 years, there's a new generation. Like it's growing exponentially compared to like the '60s. Then it was like maybe a decade or two before the next big thing came out. There was like televisions, and then there was like laptops. 40 years later, like it didn't grow as quickly now. And this whole gaming culture, by the way, Johnny, I think it's worth like even exploring because I don't think I truly like appreciate what it is. It's truly becoming a culture. Like
right.
I don't know if it would be healthy for me to unplug my kids from gaming completely right now. It's it's a community, right? It's a skill set.
It's also their way of contact with friends,
It's a way of content. You're interacting, you're talking, you're
Right.
bantering, you're talking smack. Before you used to do that on the playground, but nobody on the playground. I mean, you can
Yeah.
go, still hang out with your friends, balance your life. I believe in that, but unfortunately or fortunately, that's where the game has gone, and you can't yell at the game and say, "Why is everyone playing video games?" They just are. So decide: you gonna be part of it or be not a part of it?
Right. It's
And
like
if you don't
a
want to be a part of it, it's a completely different life. You're not really with the mainstream society.
right.
You lose out on a lot of things. You don't have to be in it, but it is there.
Yeah. Gaming is like a different type of bond and connection. Like it's basically a virtual version of sports, like street ball for basketball. You
Right.
talk smack at the park, you play with each other. It's just like online, except this thing is not next to each other, it's just through a screen.
Right.
And I think that's a change that's happening in society that a lot of parents are not ready to accept. Although it's changed from parents telling kids stop playing outside, come inside, to stop staying inside, go outside. I think a lot of parents don't see that staying inside is the way of kids feeling like they're outside, if that makes any sense.
I know what you mean.
Like it's a whole different realm outside of being indoors.
So how would you tell parents to balance that? Or for kids to balance that?
Uh
Do you just give up and say, look, play indoors, or do you try to balance it? Like, do you still try to get kids to play a sport?
I think okay, that's one thing. I don't necessarily think a parent should force their kid to play a sport. Like you don't want to just
Agreed.
have your kid playing soccer just because you want to have them playing soccer. You
How
know?
about a form of exercise?
Yeah, like there should be like a
If you
very
like
loose.
walking once a day for an hour, you good. That's what I think,
Yeah,
right?
I
Am I
think there should
wrong?
be like a loose set schedule. Like the parent should be like, okay, you can play indoors, but have at least this many hours of being outdoors and actually doing something,
Right.
moving
Right.
to balance
It
it
also
out.
gives you a perspective outdoors that you don't get inside that's going to help you be a better gamer, even. Seriously,
Right.
like just outdoor perspective dimensions, like reality
Yeah.
a little bit. Just saying. And just the fresh air. You're going to be a better gamer getting some exercise and getting better blood flow,
Right.
doing yoga. Like Miles was soccer, right? He was all into it and he didn't want to do it anymore. He lost the
Exactly.
passion, right? He tried skateboarding. He liked it, but then kind of got tired of that too. He's all into gaming now and he wants to do streaming and he's doing investment stuff. But
Good.
I am making him ride the like spin bike
Yeah.
and like try to go outside once a day. So he has a balance,
Right.
but
I think this also has
I'm
a
letting him
play.
explore the video game thing because maybe that is his thing. If he's
Yeah.
able to make that into some kind of career, it's a huge industry.
Yeah. I think this has a play on the kids too. Like they have to realize that video games could be their thing, but like being indoors 24/7 is like gonna hurt you so bad. I know, yeah, gaming could be someone's like passion, but if you don't see the sunlight for X amount of time, you're losing things that you need.
Right. Vitamin D.
Yeah. So it's really on the kids too to help themselves get
Right.
outdoors and explore things or
Right.
just walk, you know?
I kind of look at it as they're playing there's a bigger game here than the video game. That's the video game
Right.
of life. Let's just
Yeah.
call it that. And if you want to maximize your game, you got to go outside, get the bonus sunlight points.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to be a slower gamer inside the house. And then if you exercise and run every morning, let's say, to start your day, and you get enough sunlight, you're just going to be a better player in the video game. Like,
Yeah.
if you stop and think about it, it's in everyone's best interest. So I think
Right.
it's just educating yourself and finding that balance.
Yeah. That's
Parents
a
should
very
help
good way
guide
to
it, but
say.
it's better if the child understands that
Yeah.
and does it for themselves.
Yeah. That was a very good way to relate it, like as a video game. Because a lot of kids play video games. They don't go
Right.
out, but they
But
have to
play
see life as a
life.
video game.
Hey, if you love video games, play life like a video game a little bit. Like, hey, exercising 30 minutes a day is going to make me a better player. If it
Right.
doesn't, don't do it. If you're like, oh no, that's going to hurt me because I'll have higher blood pressure and I'm going to die faster and not have as much energy. But that's not true. You're going to have more, right? As far as I know.
Exactly.
Also, eating occasional healthy food and putting nutrients in my body probably gives me better sustainable energy for playing and reacting to, other players quicker. So
Right.
once you start educating yourself, you start making better decisions on your own, if you're open to it
Yeah.
and if you want to be a better player.
Yeah. It's very good. I just think like kids nowadays, I think they do go out. Like you're not gonna turn on a street and not see a kid out there.
Right.
I think everyone, like all the kids, know they need
Right.
because gaming was popular or became popular. Like I don't know how long ago, but not very long ago. But kids were like brought up to be outdoors more and to
Right.
be on the playground and stuff. So I think all of us have like a mindset where we know we need to be outdoors.
Like instinct.
Yeah.
Right. And it's coming out. Like this pandemic, actually, at first, we were on lockdown. Everybody was
Oh,
locked
yeah.
down. It was like nobody on the streets, ghost town. And kids were probably like, screw it. I'll play video games all day. I'll stay inside, watch movies, watch TV, be in my room, watch Netflix, whatever. It got old after a while. And I started noticing all these kids and families outside getting a bike, riding their bike, skateboarding. They were just feeling cooped up, and it reminded everyone almost like, oh shit, we do
Yeah.
want to go outside. Because when that gets taken away from you, you realize you actually instinctively need it and want it.
Yeah. You notice how these all came back to like all these points came back to each other.
Yeah, it
Playing video
reminded
games
us. Yeah,
indoors, you get bored of it. So it might not be your thing.
right.
But going out, like if there's something holding you back from doing something, you want to go against it. Like the quarantine, they're always like stay inside. Okay, well, I want to go out. Or your parents say go out, but you want to stay inside. There's always something that's making you want to go against it. Not necessarily a bad thing, but
Right.
I don't know. It could always end up being a really positive change that you'll never see. So I think it's always good to just try something new or
Exactly.
experiment.
Absolutely. Good stuff, man.
Yeah,
I thanks for doing this, man. Like,
of course.
I think, like I've been saying today, these podcasts, I realized something today. They're very special because they they make conversations happen that maybe wouldn't have normally happened. Like you and I wouldn't have sat out here for freaking 2 hours probably
Right. Yeah.
having this deep, intellectual, philosophical, beautiful conversation. And because we have this podcast, you have the structure that forces you sort of like once you jump into it, you're like, okay, we're making a show, so let's keep talking. And then this beautiful conversation happens that would have never happened. It's a gift, man.
Right.
It's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
I really like it. And that's something I guess I realized like that not only am I like recording conversations that I have with people I like, I'm having people over. I had Coach James over,
Yeah.
right?
Saw
Did you
that
see
one.
that podcast? And that would have never happened. I would have never got a chance to sit with Coach James for 3 hours drinking tequila and whiskey, having a great time. I mean, dude, like it's like it's not really a job, and I love it.
Right.
I found my something I love, at least. Who knows what's going to happen with it, but pursue the things you love, and who knows what's going to happen. The thing is, though, man, it's a lot of freaking work.
Yeah.
The editing, the all that stuff, but that's why you got to love it, because no matter what you do, it's going to be a lot of fucking work, man. So
Yeah.
enjoy that shit, or at least enjoy it enough to get through those tough parts of editing and
Right.
memory drives and posting and commenting and things that you may not want to do. But if you keep your goal in mind, Johnny, of wanting to make people a little happier, wanting to cheer people up, this is what you said. And my mission statement, by the way, that Josh and I have been following the last few weeks, that's really helped and helped me make better decisions. Like, should I have Johnny sit today? Our mission statement is do shit that makes people 1% happier. If that post will help us make somebody 1% happier, put it out there.
Right.
Knock him out the box, Rick. Knock him out, Rick. Knock him out the box.